Tonight, we're going to explore 5 Home Alone stories that will make you think twice about the safety of your own home. These are true accounts of people who thought they were alone until they weren't. Jake, man, I really enjoy it when my parents go out on the town. Nobody to remind me to shut off the TV or badger me about my homework. Me, my game, and some nibbles. Jake chuckles to himself, puts the game on hold, and goes to get a bite in the kitchen. He opens the refrigerator and grabs a Coke as the lights are low and the home is silent. Jake loved these quiet nights. They made him feel free. But tonight, something was different. Something felt off. Just as Jake shuts the refrigerator, he notices something in the mirror. A brief shadow briefly appears behind him. When he turns around, nothing is visible. Startled but reassuring himself, Jake said, "What the hell? No, it's only that. It's simply a trick of the eyes. I've spent too much time staring at the screen." He laughs awkwardly, shaking his head. He returns to the living room, but as soon as he takes a seat, the odd feeling returns, as though he's being observed. Jake, instinctively uneasy. Well, this is starting to get strange. Nobody is in the room. I'm by myself. I'm all by myself, right? Jake keeps glancing toward the hallway. It's dark, and the silence feels oppressive now. He fidgets with the controller, trying to focus on the game, but his heart isn't in it anymore. Jake struggled to convince himself that something wasn't right, but he was unable to do so. His gaze kept straying toward the dim hallway, and he jumped at every little sound. Jake sighs and rubs his face as he eventually stands up. Although he's attempting to laugh it off, his hands are beginning to shake a little. Jake says softly to himself, "Okay, quit acting like a baby. It is the house alone. Yes, old houses do create noise." He moves into the hallway, but the lights flicker just before he gets there. The world appears to stop still, and he feels his breath seize in his throat. Then, the lights went out. Jake freezes, feeling his heart race through his ears. He is standing at the edge of the dimly lit hallway, gazing into the darkness. And that's when he spots it, a barely discernible figure standing unmoving at the far end of the hallway. Jake, feeling scared within, says, No manner is possible. I'm having visions. I must be perceiving things." Yet his instinct tells him differently. It's the shadow. It's true, and it's becoming near. The shadow moves slowly, as if it were aware of his presence. Jake's instincts told him to run, but he was immobile. His legs remained still. As the figure steps forward, Jake's breath stops. He staggers back, slamming his back against the couch. He wants to shout, but he can't get anything out. "I need to move," says a horrified Jake in his internal monologue. "I have to take action. Why am I unable to move?" Abruptly, the lights begin to flicker again. There is nobody in the hallway. Jake's heart continues to race, even after the shadow vanishes. He holds on to the back of the couch as he gasps for air. When the lights returned, Jake was aware of what he had seen. He never felt safe in that house again after that, for reasons he was unable to explain. He never stayed home by himself after dark, but he never told anyone what had transpired that evening. Some quiet and tranquility. What a long week it has been. I'm ready to curl up with my book and relax. Absence of distractions. She looks up at the basement door, which has been locked since they moved in, at the end of the corridor. Her spouse said there was no need to worry because it was only for storage. Sarah, thinking a little uncomfortable, "I always get the creeps from that basement door, locked without cause, as he claims. However, why? Probably nothing, but still." Abruptly, a soft impact can be heard from behind the basement door. Sarah sits up taller on the couch as her heart skips a beat. Sarah had never really given the basement door much thought, but tonight she felt apprehensive for some reason. There was more to that thump than the house settling. It seemed purposeful, as though something was attempting to escape. The rhythmic, purposeful thudding keeps going, as if someone or something is knocking on the other side. Sarah says to herself, somewhat anxiously, "It's just the wind, right?" She gets to her feet and moves toward the basement entrance. her heart pounding. The knocking gets louder, and every stride feels heavier. She was drawn forward by something even though she didn't want to go near the door. Although her logical brain was telling her to turn around, her curiosity overcame her. As Sarah approaches the door, she puts her hand on the handle and touches the chilly metal. Like always, it's locked, but now the knocking on the other side is constant. Sarah, inside thoughts, "Why am I doing this? This is foolish. It's secured. Nothing can escape, can it?" The tapping abruptly ceases. Startled by the unexpected silence, Sarah leaps back. Attempting to relax herself, she inhales deeply, but the discomfort persists. It was worse to be silent than to be noisy. Something seemed to be waiting for her to open the door, as it felt heavy. With short gasps for breath, Sarah retreats from the basement door. She pushes herself to remain composed, even though she wants to flee and hide. Whispering to herself, Sarah says, "Get your act together. You're acting suspiciously. All it is an old house, only the breeze." But as she turns to leave, the door creaks open behind her, the slow, scary sound filling the hallway. Sarah's stomach drops as she freezes in place. The basement door, locked for so long, had finally opened. The darkness inside seemed to stretch out toward her. Sarah's hands tremble as she slowly turns back around. The door is fully open now, revealing the dark staircase leading down into the basement. Sarah, internal monologue. "No way. This isn't happening. This isn't real. I need to get out of here, now." Without thinking, Sarah bolts down the hallway and grabs her car keys. She doesn't look back as she rushes out of the house, slamming the door behind her. Sarah never went near that basement again. She told herself it was just an old house creaking, but deep down, she knew better. Some doors are locked for a reason. Deep thoughts. Having the evening to myself is so pleasant. No noise, no roommates, me alone with some quiet time. Her phone buzzes as she browses social media. It's an unidentified number. She scowls and pauses before responding. Emily, who's calling this late? To herself. She picks up the phone, but the other person is silent. She waits for a while, but nobody says anything. Emily, slightly agitated, hanging up. Ugh, prank callers, really? She ignores it and carries on scrolling, but after a few minutes, the phone starts buzzing once more. The same unidentified number. She sighs, starting to feel a little apprehensive. The calls started as innocuous practical jokes, but Emily became more and more accustomed to them as time went on. This time, Emily pauses before responding. Once more, there's just quiet, but now she feels like someone's listening, someone who's relishing the quiet discomfort she's feeling. "Well, this is getting weird," she said to herself, feeling uneasy. "Who the devil keeps phoning me?" Her heart begins to rush as she hangs up again. The room is now quieter, even though she tried to divert her attention by locking her phone. Despite her best efforts to ignore it, every sound in the house seemed to be louder, every darkness appeared to be deeper. Quickly, her phone rings once more. The unknown number is the same. Emily answers, shaking her hand. Emily says, "Who is this?" with anxiety. "What are your desires?" She hears breathing on the other end this time, but they're still quiet. Breathe slowly and steadily. And then, the breathing. Emily's heart pounds in her chest as she listens to the eerie breathing. She quickly hangs up, her hands trembling. "Okay, this isn't funny anymore. I need to call someone." She dials her mom's number, but it goes straight to voicemail. She tries again, but no luck. Panic begins to set in. Her mother continued to call, but she never answered. The breathing was present and become increasingly ominous each time she picked up. Quickly, her phone rings once more. It's her mother's number this time. Emily responds with a sigh of relief. Emily, feeling relieved. "Mum, thank God, someone is still contacting, and however, it's not her mother's voice on the other end." Violently, a creepy voice asks, "Did you really think you could get away?" With her heart thumping in her chest, Emily hangs up the phone. She quickly gathers her belongings and leaves the house without turning around. Emily never found out who was calling her that night, but she never stayed home alone again. Alex says in a casual internal speech, "Man, I could play all night. No parents or school tomorrow. This is fantastic." He has an odd feeling that someone is observing him when he plays. He looks over his shoulder to the window, but it is empty. He dismisses it and resumes his game. Alex likes spending time with himself, but tonight was different. At first it was a faint sensation, as though someone was observing him from the shadows. Alex moves in his chair and takes another look over his shoulder. The backyard is deserted, yet the curtains flutter in the breeze. "It's only the wind," Alex says uneasily to himself. "Or maybe a stray cat." He makes an effort to concentrate on his game, but the emotion persists. It appears as though someone or something is observing from outside his window. He had a feeling that something wasn't right, but he was hesitant to acknowledge it. He convinced himself that it was all in his head. Alex gets up and approaches the window. He opens the drapes and looks outside, but all he sees is the dark, deserted backyard. Alex, feeling relieved within, says to himself, "See? Nothing. I'm simply very suspicious." But before he can turn away, he notices something in the reflection. A dark figure standing outdoors. Alex, internal monologue. "No way, that isn't true. It is not possible." His heart pounding, he hastily draws the curtains and retreats from the window. The figure was gone, but the feeling of being watched lingered. Alex tried to ignore it, but every noise, every shadow, made his skin crawl. He grabs his phone and texts his friend, trying to distract himself, but the unease doesn't go away. He keeps glancing toward the window, half expecting to see the figure again. He never saw the figure again, but from that night on, Alex always kept his curtains closed, just in case. Mike, content of internal monologue. This house is amazing. Despite its age, it nevertheless has charm. Outside of the noise of the city, this place is peaceful. He hears a faint noise coming from upstairs while he eats. Footsteps can be heard. Mike stops and listens intently. Mike says, confused to himself, "That's strange. There isn't anyone else present." He dismisses it, supposing the footsteps are just the house settling in, but they keep coming. They move deliberately and slowly, as if someone were coming upstairs. Mike says in an uncomfortable internal monologue, "It's probably nothing. Is it only the pipes or something else?" Ignore. At the foot of the stairs, he looks up into the dimly lit second story. The moment he reaches the top, the footsteps cease. "Hey, how are you? Is anybody present?" And response is absent. Mike looks in each room, but none of them is occupied. Not a thing. The apartments were empty, as they should be. He returns downstairs, but the footsteps pick up right away when he sits down. They're heavier and louder this time. Mike, scared. This isn't right. I must double check. However, what if someone is up there? Taking a flashlight, he makes his way back up the steps with caution. He spots it at the end of the hallway, a shadowy figure observing him while remaining still. He saw it. A shadowy figure standing at the end of the hall. Mike freezes, heart pounding. Despite his desire to run, his feet feel stuck on the ground. Fearful, Mike says to himself in an internal monologue, "What really is that? I had to leave this place. Right now." The figure is stifling in its presence, even though it doesn't move. Mike takes a slow step back, breathing quickly and shallowly. The noises remained, but Mike never saw the ghostly figure again. He eventually moved out because he could no longer bear the continual sense of being observed. These stories act as a reminder that we might not be as alone as we believe, even while we are in the safety of our own homes. It's simple to write off unexplained sounds or shadows as the product of our imagination, but occasionally they go beyond that. So the next time you hear a creak or catch something out of the corner of your eye, remember, you might not be alone.